Trump is not only making news outside in America. I mean, he's making decisions that are affecting, I think, the world. Almost every continent is going through it. And it's interesting that here in Africa, as we speak, there's the threat of USAID cutting fund, which is affecting a lot of people at the moment. A lot of job cuts notices have actually been given through USAID. And besides that, South Africa, Trump has threatened to cut funding for South Africa over land policy. And South Africa, the issues of land are very sensitive. And this is one of the things he's saying he's going to cut land because of. So, I mean, he's adding salt to an injury. South Africa went through the worst during the time of apartheid, and that is what caused all these problems. So the problems that he's saying he's going to deal with in terms of cutting funds, the thing he's targeting is land, which many people in South Africa really go through it, out of it. So the US President Trump has said he will cut all future funding to South Africa over allegations that it was confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly. The classes of people he's actually speaking about is sad because it is the white people in South Africa. If you know the history of white people, segregation, black people in South Africa, of course, sort of, you may have a bias to this story, but I also feel it's not really a bias, it's misinformation that they have that is causing all this. So land ownership has long been a contentious issue in South Africa, with most private farmland owned by white people. And this is 30 years after the end of the racist system of apartheid. So during the apartheid season, there was a lot of division. The white people came, acquired lands, and black people lost a lot of that land to now their colonizers back then. So a lot of that land is still owned by white people, even after the end of apartheid. So there have been continuous calls for the government to address these land reforms and deal with the past injustices of racial segregation. However, as of now, they haven't managed. I mean, South Africa enjoys peace, yes, they've enjoyed some form of good success. But in terms of sorting the issues of land, they have never really gotten to a point where they are straight up ABC, this is the way to sort this problem. So South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa, once that accusation came from Trump, he responded by saying, South Africa is a constitutional democracy that is deeply rooted in the rule of law, justice, and equality. The South Africa government has not confiscated any lands. And he added that the only funding that South Africa received from the United States was through the health initiative PEPFAR, which is the US President's emergency plan for AIDS relief, which represented only 17% of South Africa's HIV/AIDS program. So basically, Ramaphosa is just telling Trump, you cannot threaten us with cutting funds. If anything, you put on very little money in this country, and we really don't feel like, I mean, of course, there'll be a shakeup if you pull out a 17%, but he says it's only on the HIV programs. And if you pull that out, I think South Africa has a way of sustaining, like it has the muscles to sustain itself. So I feel he stepped up for his country by saying they're a democracy who stand on law and justice and equality. Also, I don't understand why a president of America would be speaking so much about land issues in Africa when essentially the people that have that land is white people who acquired it through illegal means, because what they did, they came, colonized people, took chunks of land and owned them. And when South Africa gained independence, that land did not go back to them. So for Ramaphosa to be saying this, I mean, I understand where he's coming from. And also that's a pain to South Africa people. You can't come to the people you pushed and really did bad things as white people. I mean, it was not Trump, but it was the white people who did it. But then you still want to dictate to them how to run their affairs. I think that's uncalled for from Trump. So in South Africa, over 8 million individuals are living with HIV, and officials report that PEPFAR provides essential antiretroviral treatment to about 5.5 million people daily. And this issue of cutting aid, especially on PEPFAR USAID, because they were funding a lot of AIDS, HIV/AIDS treatment, TB treatment, all those things. I think Africa is suffering the most because, again, our leaders never got to a point where they would work on making manufacturing drugs or finding balances of how we can do business with people instead of just depending on aid. Like we got to a point where we were comfortable with HIV and AIDS, the drugs come from PEPFAR, so we will be fine, surely. Why are we getting shocked when Trump wakes up and says, no, we're not putting money in this, we are cutting this? Anyone in leadership in the continent of Africa, it's your time to wake up and you have to do it for your people. If you can't do it, just exit the scene. Let people who can lead and make Africa better than get in positions of power, because we cannot be mourning that Trump has decided taxpayers' money of the United States and other funders will not come to Africa, and now it becomes a thing of, it's like we are mourning. No, that is wrong in 2025. So Elon Musk, who was also born and grew up in South Africa, and has, of course, at the moment he's a Trump advisor who also funded his campaign, also joined in the debate. And Elon, for some reason, I don't understand, I mean, for someone who grew up in South Africa, he ought to have a better understanding of the issues that are happening and even maybe get details from the people, because I'm sure he has friends in South Africa to date. So he should get details from people instead of just coming around and throwing things. So he says that the new law is discriminating against white people. Can you imagine us speaking as Africans, speaking about discrimination against white people in Africa, and yet Trump is getting people, immigrants, and sending them back to their African or wherever countries. And also, I mean, I don't understand how the entitlement that these white people have, that they have to own land in South Africa, it is not your continent. So if you already own over 70%, why is it a big problem if you're told, no, you can't have chunks of land that you don't use? Then we have Africans who really have nowhere to live or who live on very tiny pieces of land. I don't see the discrimination, in my opinion. Musk questioned Ramaphosa in a post on X saying, why do you have openly racist ownership laws? Like, seriously, imagine Musk, someone who's lived in South Africa, knows the history, but decides, no, I will side with this maybe white person because it's convenient for now, because maybe Trump is in power. I mean, I don't get it. So he's also one of Trump's closest allies, and having been born and raised in South Africa, also, again, this is not the first time he's attacking Ramaphosa's government. Previously, he accused him of being anti-white and claimed that in 2023, that his government was allowing genocide against the white farmers. No, it was not genocide. And I think the kind of misinformation that goes out there and then just people decide to flow with it is crazy. I even saw some white people recording videos and asking Trump, where are you getting this information from? Because nobody has sent us away. Nobody has been told to give up the land. I mean, it's crazy how misinformation is working out in this technology age, and it's working across the world. So anyway, Trump says the leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things. Can you imagine that, without providing evidence or details of doing it? Like, why would a president, a world leader for that matter, accuse a nation of doing terrible and horrible things and provide no evidence? And when you go to South Africa, when you see the videos the white people are making, it's the opposite. So where is Trump getting his information? Or did Musk just come up with information, imaginary, and share it? I mean, he's one of the advisors, so he's probably one of the people giving the president information. So anyway, they said that that's under investigation right now, and America will make a determination. And until such a time we find out what South Africa is doing, again, he was adding, they are taking away land, confiscating land, and actually they are doing things that are perhaps far worse than that. Seriously, like, is it because it's a black nation, so we can just push them and accuse them of things that they've not done? And this is the same Trump who wants to take over Gaza Strip. These are the same people who have been pushing and funding Israel in the war against Palestine. Surely. Now, who's doing horrible things when you compare? Anyway, South Africa's new law allows for dispossessing land without compensation only in circumstances where it is just and equitable and in the public interest to do so. So, I mean, if the law, by the time a law is passed, it takes a whole process, goes to parliament. I don't think why they would imagine that South Africans would just wake up and, you know, make up things that didn't go through a debate of some sort. So anyway, in 2017, a government report said that of the farmland that was in the hands of the private individuals, imagine 72% is white-owned. That was as of 2017. I'm not sure these statistics have changed, but chances are they have not changed. If anything, they may even get worse. And according to a 2022 census, white people make up, hear this, 7.3% of the population. So imagine, only 7.3% of the population in South Africa own 72% of the land, farmland, meaning the rest of the people are left with 28%. And that is a whole 93%. Like, does that make sense to you? Does that sound like a white discrimination according to Trump? Yeah, you be the judge. So the South Africans were not happy with this story also, and the South African Mineral Resources Minister, Gwede Mantashe, he responded to Trump by saying, you know what? The country should withhold the minerals we have if they just don't give us money. So South Africa currently exports minerals to the US, such as platinum, iron, manganese. So this minister said, if they don't want to give us aid for, especially because it's the AIDS program that's highly funded, then we can withhold our minerals also, then see who suffers the most. What is more valuable in this case? I mean, they gain more than they give in South Africa. So I think Trump is being dramatic for no reason. And also knowing that according to the US International Trade Commission, South Africa is Washington's largest trade partner in Africa. So this would affect, of course, business between the two nations. But I think if they pull out their resources, the minerals that they export, and these ones pull out the PEPFAR funding, South Africa will have better partners, trade partners. Remember, South Africa is part of BRICS. So it's easy for them to decide, you know what, we've been exporting this to this direction. Let's just switch our direction and move to BRICS. BRICS has a bigger population than the US, than the G7 nations combined. So maybe it's a chance for South Africa to wake up and see who they can do business with better. However, we are only commenting this as fellow Africans who want the best for Africa, and hopefully Trump will reconsider and apologize to the people of South Africa. You cannot accuse people of being racist when they are not, when racism is actually the highest in the US as of the moment. So the government of South Africa says people's rights are still protected and land can only be taken in specific circumstances where it's not being used productively and it's in the public interest that the land is redistributed. So the land, essentially, this law is supposed to help people use the land, not just come, pick land and just keep it there. It's people who are having land that is not in use that can be, they have talks, they agree, we get it, we make the land useful for the better of South Africa. So the race of the land owner isn't even a factor in this case. I mean, if there's a black person who owns a big chunk and wants to let it surrender or sell for purposes of the growth of South Africa, they do it. So the whole issue of race has just been brought by Elon Musk and President Trump for interests better known to them. So we hope they will both apologize to the people of South Africa, and we hope that more can be done to ensure equity, if not equality, in the country of South Africa in terms of land use and land also ownership, yeah? So if you're in South Africa, share with us in the comment section what you feel. If you're an African who also has, I'm sure you have something you feel about this whole thing, you can share with us in the comment section and tell us what you think. Also, if you're in America and you have been affected by this story, by the way, it's good you share with us in the comment section what you feel and why you think Trump thinks that it's racist to share stories and say that land should be redistributed for better purpose use. I mean, isn't that what the America wants? Why, if he wants to make America great again, why can't we make Africa great all the time? Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching to the end. See you on the next episodes. Overload.